Welcome to Greek for a Week. I'm glad that you have decided to watch this week's video. And this week I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to work through 3 different verses. I just really thought that the way the paragraph broke down basically ended at the first part of verse 18. So chapter 1, verses 16 through 18 is what we're going to work through. And then, if you'll notice, we're still in the paragraph 1, 12 through 26. So at this point, I'm suggesting verses 12 through the first half of 18 would be one paragraph. And then the second half of 18 through verse 26 would be the second paragraph. So I'm going to stop here at the first half of 18. So next week, I will diagram verses 12 through 18, and that should be able to provide a good solid paragraph for all of us to work through, and then even offer some suggestions as to how that outline, teaching or preaching outline, might look. So here we go. Here's verse 16 and 17, and then again the first half of 18. So those, okay, on the one hand, out of love, knowing that I am appointed for the defense of the gospel. Those, on the other hand, preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, thinking to raise affliction in my imprisonment. Then what? Except that in every way, whether in pretense or whether in truth, Christ is preached, and in this I rejoice. So again, quite a few verses there, but I want to kind of jump back and review verse 15. So verse 15 here mentions the concept of, on the one hand, some are preaching Christ even because of envy and strife, but on the other hand, some also because of good pleasure. Well, notice he has another mende construction. So here's our mende construction, and that mende construction, that's why I translated it on the one hand and on the other hand. Again, 2 groups of people, very much like verse 15. So on the one hand, you have those out of love. Again, they preach out of love because they know that he is appointed specifically for the defense of the gospel. But there's those on the other hand that are preaching Christ out of selfish ambition, and that's verse 17. Also, you have adates. Okay, adates, that would be a perfect active participle. Excuse me. Masculine nominative plural. That's of the verb oida. Okay, so I'll write that up, oida. And that I'm suggesting is a causal participle of cause. So those, on the one hand, out of love, because knowing, or because they know that I am appointed, and then the list can go on. Probably a hati of content here. What is it that you know? Okay, so the hati then tells us that the rest of the phrase gives the content of what they know. Specifically, they know that he is appointed. Here's the verb for appointed. Specifically for ace, okay, ace apalagion to euangeliou. That would be for the defense of the gospel. So this prepositional phrase would indicate purpose here. Verse 17, again, I'm not going to touch on a lot of things just because of the length of the video here. You have the word ex, okay, that is a form of the preposition ek. Well, each one of those, you have one here. Let's see, then you also have ex up here in verse 16. Those would be to indicate source. So the source in which those preach are either out of love, or in verse 17 here would be selfish ambition. Then you have oi aminoi, oi aminoi. This would be present middle participle, masculine nominative plural. And again, that also I believe would be a participle of cause. So he says here that those, on the other hand, preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely. So, not sincerely here, because they are thinking to raise affliction. Okay, so that would be a participle of cause here. That's my take on that participle. And then you have a gay reign right here. Okay, a gay reign is an infinitive, present active infinitive of agero, probably the complementary infinitive of this participle. The participle, again, thinking, and then to raise. So you could say, what is it that they're thinking? Remember, a complementary infinitive completes the thought of the verb, and I think in this case it completes the thought of what it is that they're thinking, and that is to raise affliction. Then in verse 18, you have a few datives. You have datives of manner, which would be here, whether in pretense or in truth. So those would be in every way. How is Christ preached? It would be in pretense or in truth. So that would be manner. And then the en to toe, to wrap things up here with a prepositional phrase, probably cause here, because of this. So because of this preaching Christ here, what is it that Paul does? He rejoices. Again, quite a bit there in verses 16 through 18. Plenty more I could have discussed, but we'll keep it at that. Again, next week we're going to diagram verses 12 through 18. Trust this has been helpful, and we'll see you next week.